Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to take a look at a very common problem in Excel when working with a messy dataset. Once again, this is one of the datasets available on Kaggle, and if you take a look at the genres column, you'll notice that many of the cells contain multiple genres and they are separated by a comma and a space. So our task will be first to flatten the data and maybe put all the genres into a single column, and ideally we're going to do this on a new worksheet. Then we're going to count how many times each genre occurs, and finally we're going to remove the duplicates and sort the data based on the genre count. This is not something that can easily be done using Excel's built-in insert pivot table feature, simply because the data is kinda messy, and therefore we will solve this entirely with VBA. So I'm gonna open the Visual Basic editor and let's get started. And before we dive in, I'd like to underline that the solution I'll be showing in this video is not the best approach by any means, and I'll explain why at the end. So let's insert a module, and I'm gonna start writing a subroutine which I will call pivot from messy dataset. And let me resize it a little bit so we have more space and see what's going on in the worksheet. And the first thing I'd like to do is to declare this worksheet and store it in an object variable, which I will call simply ws as worksheet. And then let's set this. So this will be this workbook dot worksheets Spotify underscore data. Then I would also want to loop through the cells in that column. So I will declare two more variables, dim last row as long and I as long. And the last row will be ws.cells rows.count, comma 1 and Excel up.row. And now I can write a for loop for I equals 2 to last row, next I. Now I would want to split all the cells here, all the items in the cells. So I'm going to declare a variable which I will call all genres, and it is going to be of type string. And here I will write that all genres are equal to ws.cells on row I and column 4 because they are in column D, comma 4 dot value. And now I will use the split function to split the genres, and the split function will return an array. So I'm going to declare a variable here, genres, which will be of type variant. And here, if I write that genres equal split, we're splitting the all genres variable, and our delimiter will be comma and space. Now let me show you what I've done, and I'm going to write here stop. And I don't see my locals window, so let's go to view and click locals window. I'm not sure why it's showing here and not here to the right side, but I'm not gonna waste time for this now. So if I click run, then you see here that it stopped here where it sees the word stop. And now if I click here genres to extend it, you will see that it has splitted cell D2 because that's the first cell, and it has splitted it in 4 parts for each genre. So now, in order to flatten the data, I will have to loop through all those genres, or in other words, I will have to write a nested loop here, and we'll have to loop through each of these arrays that is being created. Therefore, I'm going to add here another variable which I will call j as integer. It can also be long. And if I now write here for j equals lower bound of all genres, actually of genres, to upper bound of genres, next j, and we can debug that print genres of j. And now I don't need the locals window anymore, so I'm gonna close it. And if I click run, we can see that we have been able to flatten, let's say, the first cell. And then if I click it again, then we will see the next 4 genres and so on. As I mentioned in the beginning, I would like to create dynamically a new worksheet and put all these genres into a single column. So let's do this. I'll reset the subroutine for now, and let's add a new variable here, which I will call new worksheet as worksheet. And here I can write set new worksheet be equal to this workbook dot worksheets dot add. In that new worksheet, I would like to also have header rows. And as I mentioned in the beginning, not only we will flatten the data and normalize it in some way, but we will also count how many times rap, hip hop, and the other genres appear. So that means that I will need 2 headers. So here I will write new worksheet that cells 1, 1, the cell A1, that value equals genre, and new worksheet that cells 1, 2, or the cell B1, that value equals count. So if I now click run, we can see here that it created a new worksheet and it added headers. So the next step will be, instead of printing here in the immediate window, to populate the values here in column A. So in order to do this, we will have to dynamically find the next available row. So that means another variable which I will call next row. It's going to be of data type long. And here I will write inside this inner loop that next row sure why it's not, maybe, yeah, I need to stop it first. Next row equals new worksheet that cells rows dot count, comma 1, and excel up that row, and I can directly add 1 here. And now I can write that new worksheet that cells on row next row and comma 1, that value equals genres of j. So let's delete this worksheet and start the process. And I'm gonna click here in order to put a breakpoint. And let's see what's going to happen. It created a new worksheet, and now I'll be clicking F8. It found that the next available row is 2, which is correct. And we have the first genre, whatever new metal is. And then we have rap metal, alternative metal, and so on. So it seems to be working. And if I now click run and remove this breakpoint, of course, it is going to apply this for all cells. And now we see that we have nearly 13,000 rows here. So the next step will be to count how many times each of these genres appear. And in Excel, this is normally done using the countif function. So if I count this it's going to return that new method appears 112 times. So now let's do this also with VBA. And for this, I will need to declare yet another variable. And by the way, the code already becomes a little bit messy and ugly. And this is only for demonstration purposes, of course. In a real world project, probably this subroutine that I'm writing in one place should be split into 3 or 4 parts. But I'm not going to do this now. So I'm going to declare, I will call it genres range as range. And outside this loop, I can write set genres range. And this will be new worksheet dot range. And we can write it like that, from cell A2 to cell A, and concatenate this with our next row variable. And just to show you that this is the correct range, we can select it. So I'll put a stop marker here, delete this. And if I run the script again, and if I now click F8, we can see that it has selected all cells from A2 to A 12,990. So it's correct. So now we can write another loop. And let me remove this select statement here. And I can write another loop that for I equals 2 to next row. I mean, maybe it would have been better if I declared another variable, or I could have reused this variable, which is not a great practice. But we see that the next row stores the last row in this case. Maybe it doesn't sound very well, but it is what it is. And here we can write that new worksheet that cells on row I in column 2, that value will be application.countif genres range, and we're counting the new worksheet that cells on the same row and column 1, that value. So I will delete this and run the process again. And you see already that it needs some time to apply these calculations. But it ended and we got the same result for new metal, 112. And the last things that we need to do is to remove the duplicates here and sort the data in descending order based on column B. Luckily, those are 2 one-line statements. So to remove the duplicates, we can write new worksheet.columns remove duplicates. The columns will be set to 1 because we're removing duplicates on the first column. And we need to ensure that we set the header to XO yes. This will remove the duplicates. And now we can also sort the data. The key will be new worksheet cells on row 1 and column 2, that's cell B1. The order will be descending. And once again, we need to set the header to XO yes. So let's remove this, let's delete this worksheet. And let's run the entire script. I don't see any stop markers or breakpoints, so if I click run, we can see that we no longer have duplicates here, and we have been able to count the values. And maybe I should zoom in a little bit to see better. And yeah, let's check, for instance, if our calculations are correct. So if I Let's pick some genre that isn't so common, maybe Exotica. So if I copy this and search for it here, we can see here that we have 3 cells found. So that is correct. I mentioned in the beginning of the video that what I'm showing is not the best approach by any means, and let me tell you why. First of all, this method is relatively slow because we are constantly writing values back to the worksheet, and this slows down the process. Another thing, we are using this countif function, which can be extremely slow with large datasets. And for example, if you try this with, let's say, 300,000 or 400,000 rows, it can easily take several minutes to finish. And we're also not checking whether we have enough rows available before writing the data back. Because as you know, Excel is limited to 1,048,576 rows. So if we were working with, let's say, 500,000 rows in the source data, then we could potentially run out of space, and that could have caused an error or even Excel to crash. And because of this, a much better solution would be to perform all these operations like splitting, removing duplicates and countings entirely in memory using a data structure like a dictionary. And that approach will be significantly faster, and it also would allow us to check how many unique items we have before writing anything back to the worksheet, and this will ensure that we have enough space. And we're going to cover this improved solution in one of the next videos, so if you're interested, make sure to stay tuned. And until then, thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, then please drop them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.